Good morning. It's 7:30 Monday. I just set an alarm and woke up. It's my husband's birthday. He's still asleep. 5 kids are asleep. And my goal is before they wake up, I want to make homemade kind of like raspberry toaster strudels and bacon and coffee. I'm making myself some coffee now. I'm making just like a pot of decaf French press, but my goal is to have all of those things made before the kids wake up and Alex wakes up. So I'm gonna get to work and see what happens. I like to start most mornings with at least 1 cup of coffee, and even though I don't do caffeine anymore, I just really appreciate the aroma and the warmth and just the routine and habit of brewing coffee. Kind of is like a no-brainer place to start the day. You stumble out of bed, there are a lot of options before me, and I just feel like, well, I know where to start. I start by turning the kettle on and putting some coffee in the French press, and I've gotten kind of lazy. I normally grind my own coffee, but I've just really appreciated the convenience of ground coffee. This particular coffee is Kroger's Swiss water processed decaf coffee. It's a little bit brighter and lighter than I prefer in coffees, so I found that by making it in the French press, that kind of brings out the deeper notes, and I like it better. So I've been making it in the French press. And then this bacon is from Costco, and it's their thick cut bacon. It's really, really good. But this morning, I tried to rush it a little bit. I put my oven on convection at 425, and I probably should have checked it a little bit more frequently because it was finished sooner than I had expected, which was good because then I could get the my version of the toaster strudels into the oven more quickly because we were kind of on a time crunch. We needed to leave around 8:40 to get to co-op, and I didn't leave myself tons and tons of time to make this meal, so I was trying to rush things along. And yeah, the bacon got a little bit overdone, but it was still mostly edible, and it added a nice savory protein fat component to our breakfast. My great grandma actually, great grandma Brown, lived in Florida. She is a person that I learned that you can bake bacon in the oven from. And there are many advantages. One, you can do a huge batch all at once. And if you do it on a big piece of parchment like I do, once you take the bacon off the pan, I normally put it on a paper towel lined plate to soak up any extra grease. What you can do, if you don't need to clean up your kitchen immediately, which I don't often need to clean it up immediately, is I let the bacon fat cool and kind of solidify on the parchment paper on top of the pan. And then once it's reached that point and it's cooled and solidified, then I just pick up the parchment, fold it in quarters, and then put it right in the trash can, so I do not have to deal with any kind of cleaning of the pan, which I always feel like I've triumphed. I've achieved some major triumph if I don't have to clean the pan. It's parchment paper, again, Costco purchase. This is like a nice wide parchment paper that covers a half sheet pan, which if you're cooking for more than a few people, a half sheet pan is a great idea. It's wonderful for roasting vegetables because you can do a fair amount of vegetables and then you can spread them out, which lets the air circulate and then they get all crispy. So anyways, here I'm working with gluten-free puff pastry. I only recently found gluten-free puff pastry at Kroger. It's in the refrigerated section, kind of near where you might find pre-made refrigerated cookie dough. The brand that I'm using is called Sweet Loren's, and it does not puff up as much as a traditional gluten cookie or puff pastry, but it's still flaky. It's still really good. It's still a good vehicle for all the other sugary sweet elements that are going to be part of this toaster strudel. So I'm spreading a little bit of, I think, a couple tablespoons of raspberry preserves. I'm just using the back of the spoon to spread it out, and I'm not going quite to the corners of the rectangle of puff pastry because I don't want it to ooze out. And I probably went too close. I probably should have left a little bit more of a border because some of it did seep out. It didn't really burn. It didn't really cause a problem. So I was just spreading the jam, and then I covered up the bottom piece of puff pastry that has the jam on it with another rectangular piece of puff pastry, and then I just grabbed a fork and kind of crimped around all of the edges before sliding that piece of parchment paper onto the half baking sheet. And then I pricked it with a fork, just like 3 pricks, to let any steam out so they wouldn't be soggy, so they could, I don't know, puff up. Who knows? Maybe it was not necessary, but it seemed like the thing to do. And then I brushed the tops with a little bit of milk to encourage browning before I put them into the oven. And I think I had the oven at 400. Now I can't remember. I followed whatever was on the box for the recommendation for baking up the puff pastry. Celebrating birthdays at our house, it's not like an elaborate or expensive kind of thing, but the tradition that we've kind of fallen into is that whoever the birthday person is, they kind of get to choose what's going on for the day. So I ask them, what do you want for breakfast? And like, what do you want to do for lunch? And where do you want to go today? What do you want for dinner? What kind of cake do you want? Stuff like that. And then we kind of just try to all as a family, as much as possible, as much as feasible, kind of spend the day together. And I really do enjoy that. Alright, so my plan didn't exactly quite work out. It's 8:15. The bacon is not quite done. It's still in the oven. But I've made the toaster strudels. I've got like 2 batches. So they just need to go in the oven and bake. But my 2 older sons and the toddler woke up. So the boys are entertaining her for the minute. I'm going to try to whip up a frosting to drizzle over the toaster strudels when they come out of the oven. So I'm not following the recipe. I'm just gonna try to wing kind of like a royal icing. So I think I'm gonna do like a cup of powdered sugar, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of egg white, whisk, 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 put it in a Ziploc bag, and then snip a little tiny bit off the corner of the bag and drizzle it over once the toaster strudels are out. I've also decided I might make scrambled eggs, but we'll see how far we get. So let's try to make some frosting. Okay.
I'm gonna grab sugar.
Did you just eat something off the floor?
You know I'm looking at it.
Your silly face. No, do silly face.
Oh, it's so silly.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, guys.
Alright, well, breakfast is over. I didn't get the scrambled eggs made, but the puff pastry, like toaster strudels are really good. Bacon was slightly overdone. It was a little crispy. But I think that my husband felt appreciated and loved for his birthday, which was the goal. And then my mom just arrived, and she's gonna watch our toddler while the older ones and I go to co-op. It's our last day, so we're gonna have history presentations, science fair presentations, and it's a beautiful day. It's supposed to be in the 70s, so we're excited about that. So co-op just ended, and right now I'm at church, and I'm cutting some flowers from the church's flower beds, and we're gonna stick them in these pitchers of water and put them in the fridge, and we're hoping that they'll last until Sunday because we're having the Easter breakfast here at church. I think they're going to be very beautiful. So we've got some daffodils here, and then some really beautiful pink tulips. The kids are playing. our toddler is having a nap over at my mom's house. She's gonna bring her back home at 6 because that's when we're all gonna gather together for a birthday dinner in my husband's honor. So for now, just gonna be cutting flowers and enjoying this beautiful day. 72 degrees and sunny. Just got back from co-op and it's time to clean up for the party and everyone coming over for dinner, but we decided to go take a walk by the river because it's such a nice day and it's supposed to be cold again tomorrow. So it's really beautiful and the river's really high because it's been raining a lot recently, but there are a lot of pretty flowers. Well, my husband and I went on a little walk by the river. My boys did a good job of tidying up and they cleaned the bathroom on the main level, which is like a powder room, and that's the bathroom that our guests are likely to use. So that was nice and fresh. And yeah, they picked up the robot vacuum was running. That's why the stools are up on the island. And as people started to arrive, I started to slice the cake horizontally. I did it into 3 different layers. And then the plan was that I would add lemon curd between the layers, which lemon curd is so easy to make. It's so delicious. It had so much flavor. It was a lot of egg yolks. So it's basically just egg yolks, lemon juice, lemon zest, sugar, and then shocking amounts of butter. But it ends up making rich, velvety, mouth-puckeringly sour filling that isn't runny, so it's great because you can kind of just spread it easily. And it stays in place and kind of glues your layers of cake together. I ended up using like a vanilla box mix, gluten-free cake box mix from Aldi, and I added a bunch of lemon zest into the batter, but otherwise I followed directions on the box. And I don't think that I would buy that particular mix again. I felt like it was very, I don't know, flat. Like it just was lackluster. I don't know how else to describe it. I think I prefer some of the pre-boxed cakes mixes that I've gotten at Kroger. I don't know if it's like Pillsbury or one of them. King Arthur flour is a good one. So next, I'm just adding a large amount of whipped cream. So to make whipped cream, all you need is heavy cream, sugar, and vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. And then you just whisk it up until it's nice and fluffy. And then I also added a little bit of non-fat powdered milk into my whipped cream because we weren't going to be eating it immediately. And that kind of helps stabilize the whipped cream and keeps it from getting kind of flat and leapy and watery again. And then I had washed a bunch of strawberries, I think blackberries and raspberries. I was going to do blueberries too, but they were terrible price, so I didn't get any. But I just decorated the cake with that. And then after we ate, which my father-in-law made a really delicious pulled pork, went outside to play. And then I feel like it's not a warm weather birthday unless someone gets a splinter and my dad has to operate on the splinter. I feel like that's one of my core childhood memories is someone had a splinter and then my dad saying, step into my office, and then getting out tweezers and really going to work in his surgical manner. He's not a surgeon, he is a lawyer. He likes to say, I am a doctor, just not the kind that will help you. Anyways, so I'd love these really tall birthday candles. You can find them anywhere. I think the brand is Papyrus, but it takes the pressure off of trying to light a bunch of candles quickly. The really short ones, they start melting wax everywhere. So if you haven't tried tall candles, you definitely should. So after everyone went away, cleaned up the kitchen a little bit. I didn't get it all cleaned up. I always say I'm leaving that for my maid. She's coming in the morning. Turns out I am in the maid. But sometimes you just need to go to bed. So we kind of did a normal thing of showering, and then I always put a towel on my pillow because I'm going to bed with my hair wet, which maybe isn't advisable, but I do it all the time. And then I'm trying something called bag balm on my hands and my feet and my face because I've had really like cracked, dry hands recently. And somebody recommended it for cracked hands. So the jury's still out. I don't think it's like a miracle product, but I read a little bit of the Screw Tape Letters and then went to bed. Anyways, thanks for spending the day with me. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.